Well, coming to you again live from Deshler, Nebraska at the Spring Creek Model Trains 25th anniversary. We're here live to bring you some of the action happening here in the little town of Deshler. My name is Ray Arnott, the host of Around the Layout podcast. Joining me on the far side of the table, the editor of Model Railroad News, Tony Cook.
Hey.
We just had lunch, amazing.
The food's always, isn't the food always good here, George?
I don't know. I never had it.
You never eat the food here?
I don't have time.
Oh, that's right. You're stuck in a booth all day.
I'm stuck in a booth all day.
Oh, I'll bring you a piece of pie then.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring them a piece of pie. Yeah,
that wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah. I had to once again. Tony likes variety. He's tried a couple different ones. I'm narrow-minded. When I see strawberry rhubarb,
you've been sticking to that
right at it. Yeah,
I'll be with that. I'm gonna eat
the last piece. I'm the hate to break the bad news. Yeah, let's start the whole show with bad news. Because I went looking. I thought I was about to cry because I thought I missed out on all the, and I found one with a handwritten in the back, kind of just waiting for me to come find it. It's kind of like shopping here at Spring Creek Model Trains, right?
You're like, look at that. They still have that road number.
Yeah, they have it. There it is. Yeah. So, but we got ourselves a couple full bellies and ready to talk about some more things that are happening here. And one of the awesome vendors that have come here to show their support for Spring Creek Model Trains and their 25th anniversary is George from SoundTraxx. George, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. This is one of my favorite ones to do. I love this place. I love the show. It's just fun to be here. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the greatest things about this show too, and I tell people that in the run up to it, is somebody like you at some of the bigger shows. It's like, man, I really want to ask about this or that, because there is probably nothing else in our hobby that is more, I really want this. Well, and I've called him before. I'll call him working on something. George, why in the world does this not work? Or what am I not doing? He's like, okay, hang on. Here's how they set this up. And here's what you got to do to make it work. People always have questions on DCC and sound. And this show is fantastic to corner this guy and be able to say, I'm trying to put this in here and here's the challenge I'm having. And you get the time, you get that face-to-face where it's not like there's three other people like, hey buddy, come on. It's like a busy phone booth. Are you done?
Right. And that's the thing is, like, when you go to the big shows like Amherst or Train Fest, where there's, several thousand people through the door, sometimes 10, 20, 30,000 people through the door. You get these groups of people that'll hover, and so the other people that are asking questions think, okay, well, what's my most important question, so I can get out of the way and let somebody else come in, because they realize it takes time to answer some of these questions. And me, having been a modeler for years, I want to take the time to answer the question. I want to answer it so that you, whoever you are, understand the way you learn. And I tell people all the time, I say, there's no stupid questions. What the question that you're asking is important for you to understand, so that way you can go back and enjoy your trains.
Right.
So, somebody comes over and says, well, I got a dumb question. There's no such thing to me, because that's helping you learn.
Right. Okay.
And so when you're in these big shows, a lot of people may skip what they feel is, a remedial question or something like that, because they don't want to appear that way. And I don't care. Here's the way I look at it, honestly, is every one of us, none of us are born knowing how to model railroad.
That's right.
We all learned every step of the way. So when it comes to your SoundTraxx products and your journey and learning sound operations, stuff like that, ask your questions, because we're here to help. And that's one of the things I love about this type of shows. Like you said, you have the time to sit there and spend that one-on-one FaceTime. And in my opinion, nothing beats FaceTime. When we have the opportunity, I mean, we've known each other for many years, and when we get to hang out and go to dinner, we have so much fun. But of course, we're guys. We don't email and call and talk to each other on a regular basis. We could go years not see each other, sit down, have dinner, and it's like we're long lost buddies.
I probably had dinner with him like every other year at this show. At the one steak place. How was your prime rib last night? You got the big one.
I got the big one. It was delicious. Tender.
Oh yeah. Boy,
Rowdy's Steakhouse in Fairbury, Nebraska.
If you're up here for stuff, you got to swing by there.
And we've eaten there for years. And it was reasonably priced. It was
Oh my
like
gosh,
20,
yeah.
what was it,
Priced,
$29.95 or
Something like that.
$31.95?
Yeah, I
something
got
like
the
that.
little one was $20 and it came with baked potato. All that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, the only thing I think was disappointing, and maybe you were the most rowdy part of Rowdy's last night.
You know what's a little quiet?
was.
It's been super busy sometimes where I've had to wait outside. And I was
Yeah.
amazed to come in. It's like I wasn't crazy busy.
Yeah.
Maybe the holiday weekend. I don't know.
No, it worked out great. We got to have dinner together. We had dinner with Michelle Kempema and Jennifer Howell from Colorado Model Railroad Museum,
Mhm.
Nick from Nick's Trains. We had Chris Palomares from Intermountain.
Mhm.
We had quite a crew there. So
Yep.
yeah, it was
Kind
really
of
fun.
the Colorado crew. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
I think
Colorado
it's almost
folk.
kind
Yeah,
of same.
that's
pretty much
Yeah.
Now that you say it that
it's
way.
all the Colorado folks. That,
Yeah, and kind of on that same topic, let's talk about that because that's one thing you were really passionate about talking last night is the Colorado Rail Proto Meet that you're
Mhm.
now become
yeah.
a big part of because that's not
Yep.
your hometown RPM.
Yeah, well, hometown is relatively speaking, it's in
Well,
the same state.
yeah.
I'm in Durango, which is the opposite end of the state. But yeah, we're doing our Colorado RPM. It's going to be September 27 and 28, I believe, is that weekend. And we did our first one last year. It was one day, and we had a great turnout. We were surprised. We had dinner. Everything was there. There's served lunch. You can add on to these, of course, and then there's a dinner that you can buy. But man, we're going to have a fantastic show this year because not only are we focusing on like the RPMs and, prototype modeling, but we've also brought in, Chris Palmieri of Home Shops, and he's bringing in his freelance forum, which are proto freelance type of models where he'll take, for example, we'll use the, V&O, the Virginia, Ohio.
Famous, yep.
And he's got his freight cars that he's done in the V&O, Allegheny Midland, those crew, Cat Mountain, Santa Fe, and he's put them on very detailed, highly prototypical models. So he's going to be coming, and they're going to have a whole series of freelance clinics. And then I'm the clinic coordinator for it. So if anybody wants to come out and wants to give a clinic, reach out to me at georgeb@soundtraxx.com. We'll get you on the schedule.
Awesome.
And then we're also doing a narrow gauge section as well. So we're going to have kind of a threefold RPM meet that kind of brings everybody together as one. And so the narrow folks with the narrow-minded, we get to have something for you guys as well. So, and that's going to be brought over by, I think it's going to be sponsored, I think, with Doug Junda from San Juan Model Company out there in Colorado.
Awesome.
So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. It's 2 days. Nice big facility. We'll have layouts in there as well. And we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a really good time.
And you mentioned Durango, the RPM those in Greeley?
The RPM is in Greeley, correct. And you're right. I kind of maybe led that. That's why it's not really backyard, but it's our state.
Yeah.
Because we're 6.5 hours away from, maybe 7 hours, depending on how you drive, from Denver. And then you got to add another 45 minutes on top of that to get to Greeley. But as everybody knows, the Colorado Model Railroad Museum is in Greeley. So that's kind of why we're hosting it there. And then Friday night, we're going to do a operations on the layout in Greeley. So you can bring stuff to run, register and contact ahead and make arrangements because the spots are limited. And then the presentations and the meet will be Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. There's a lot of cool stuff that's going to happen, and we're really excited for it.
Well, that fits in kind of the mentality that you have with the shows and folks coming up to ask questions. And there's nothing like, you said, being in person to be able to ask those questions and learn. And that is really the spirit of an RPM. And that it fits completely, within what you were just saying about, getting people to learn and be not afraid to ask questions, because a lot of the folks like yourself just love to help people.
Yeah, I enjoy it. And the RPMs, whether it's ours or, I'll be in St. Louis in a few weeks. I'll be up in Novi. And so the smaller shows give us that, like we were talking about, that FaceTime to be able to ask the questions and answer it. And I'm a modeler myself. I've been a modeler since I was 14. And so I haven't worked a day in almost 17 years working for SoundTraxx. And I love it.
Same, yeah.
But so part of it is I also bring my models to show off. I bring stuff to the RPMs to contribute so that you have more models to show.
Wait a minute. You're a model railroader too?
I am. I
Look at
represent that remark.
Yeah. Look at that. Well, it's just, I think sometimes we forget, when we get these folks that work for these companies that, they're model railroaders too, and that
a lot of them are, but there are some that aren't.
Yeah,
and
but
it's just a job. But a lot of them are because we, myself included, we talk about Chris Palmares. A lot of us have been hobbyists, and we lucked out to a certain level to be able to work in the industry that we love so much. And so, like I said, it's busy. I'm constantly working, but I don't feel like it's working because I'm helping friends in the model railroad industry and the hobby, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the ways that you're helping folks, you talked about in person, but you've also recently started with SoundTraxx doing a little more reaching out with a new podcast being driven by SoundTraxx. Talk a little bit about that, and then of course where people can find it.
So we're not trying to take away your customers, but everybody can watch and see our podcast as well. But we do a video and audio podcast, and I have a hard time because I always think everything's video because we do so many videos on our YouTube channel. Again, designed to help educate people and teach them how to use the decoders. So I kind of get fixated in the video side of it, but we do a video audio podcast called SoundTraxx Soundbites, and the subtitle is Train Talk from Milepost 141.
Awesome.
So Milepost 141, our street address is 141, but
nice.
The key tie-in is our manufacturer ID with NMRA DCC is 141 as well, which is why we bought that property. But it's because it was 141. Didn't matter what the street name was. It's nope, we're buying that property, and so that's where we built our building. Wow. And so it all ties in together. So it really works out. But we try to post that about every 2 weeks or so. And usually me and whoever's there, because we started it with Norman, and Norman decided he wanted to go light up stages on cruise ships because that's what he went to school for. So he left, and then we had Graham there for a while. Now Graham's not with us, and we brought Tom in. Tom Austin is a model railroader. He moved over from Illinois. And so he just joined the recent one that I think posted within the last couple of days. So you guys can see that. We brought some toys that models that we were working on ourselves because we try to show off what we're doing and things like that. Because it's such a thing when it comes to sound, because we can always show you the model, or we can talk about sound and show you stuff, but we live this. We actually enjoy doing it ourselves. So part of the podcast is to not only share features or things that we may have encountered that particular week, because until Tom got here, I was doing all the support. And so one of the podcast topics not long ago was I had an unnamed customer send me some pictures of his solder job, and he couldn't figure out why the decoder burned up. And he's got like a 3 or 4 inch section of wire all soldered together and no heat shrink tubing, no tape, no anything. And then he puts a shell on it. And he can't figure out why
that didn't work.
It's crazy. That metal
could be some of my problem.
That could be, yeah. You can't just twist the wires together and hope they stay together.
That's the old Western Union. I don't touch that stuff. I will buy things and I hand it to Shane Mason, Shane, and I'll say, Shane, here, put this in this. Yeah.
So, but my point of it is not necessarily to throw our customers under the bus or anything, but it's like, hey, if you're doing this, stop. Because over the years, we've seen a lot of things. I always laugh. I feel like at times we're kind of like farmers insurance for sound decoders, because we've seen some things, and so we can help you with some things.
There you go.
One of the most odd ones we ever had, unfortunately, the modeler's passed away now, but he had an issue where he was doing decoders for years, and then suddenly he hit a wall and he couldn't do a successful decoder installation to save his life. And we're trying everything. He's sending them back, and there's random failures, but it wasn't always the same failure. So like, for example, if it was the amplifier, okay, dude, check your speakers, make sure they're wired properly, but it was something different every time. And he was getting frustrated. And of course he wants to blame the decoders, but we manufacture here in the States, and we hand test every one of our decoders after the machine tests. So that's a very important thing, because we do test the decoders before they're packaged. So the odds that you get a decoder that doesn't work from our factory is you got better odds getting a lottery ticket. But anyway, he went in and every decoder installation was a fail. So he had one of his modelers in the group was an engineer for Dell.
Okay.
And he said, come, because I can't be in everybody's basement or workbench or whatever.
I'm sure you're invited to come over and do that.
I'm sure, but I can't afford to be everybody. But
that's right.
It can be bought. But anyway, so this Dell engineer comes over to his place and they start figuring stuff out, and he's got meters and stuff. Turned out his soldering iron was so old that it was discharging 120 volts into the work.
Oh,
Wow.
Holy
And that's the weirdest thing that I've ever seen doing this, because I mean, I've seen where people grab the wrong flux because we're not necessarily trained on soldering. We kind of just, we grab the cushy end of the soldering iron and we stick the metal in and it melts. And so they go to Home Depot or whatever it is to buy the soldering materials, because Radio Shack's not in everybody's backyard anymore.
Yeah, gone. Yeah.
Right.
So they always buy the stuff that's designed for like pipe work, and that stuff has a really high acid content, which will damage it'll start attacking the components on the board.
Wow.
So you have to be very careful in using the proper flux. But in this particular case, his soldering iron was discharging voltage from the wall into the work. Wow. And that's why it was frying every one of his decoders.
Wow.
He bought a new soldering iron, his problem went away.
Isn't that wild? But again, you wouldn't troubleshoot that.
Correct.
That would not be on your list of.
It wasn't on ours.
Maybe it's that. That'd be one of the last things. I'm like, well, let me try a different soldering iron. Like, well, I wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because we've been using it successfully for so many years.
And it's such a simple thing. It's like, no, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff over the years. And so when it comes to helping customers out, whether, you have a problem with installation of the decoder, setting up the sound to work the way you want it to, whatever the case is, give us a call. Tom's a lifelong model railroader. And the funny thing about Tom is, I'll say, he makes me look like a casual Mopac fan. Which is a huge
That's how
thing.
I know that name. When you said Illinois, I'm like, yeah, but I know him from something else too. Yeah, Tom.
He's
Austin.
He's part of the Mopac Hysterical.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Mopac Historical Society. Yeah. Hey, I'm a member as well. So, but like I said, he makes me look like a casual Mopac fan. His license plate is Mopac.
Oh, that's cool.
He's hardcore.
He's hardcore.
Yeah, that is.
So, but my point of that is to say we have years of experience being modelers, and right now it's more training him on the experience that I've seen over the years. Because, like I said, I turned 17 with SoundTraxx in October, which is crazy,
amazing.
And so we've seen some things, and so it's teaching him those things that can come up. Most common one is flux. Most common issue is forgetting to use resistors or not reading the instructions and stuff like that, because we do give you users guides, manuals, so you can learn everything about the decoder. And but we are here to help you. As I've said, give us a call. We do answer our phones Monday through Friday, 9 to 5:30 Mountain Time, whether it's, daylight savings or whatever. And Monday through Friday normally. And other than when I'm at a show, I'm there also. And so we've got Tom there, and he's super excited. He's been a lifelong modeler, but his prior career was a corrections officer.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So he's super thrilled to be here, because people love to talk to him as opposed to dealing with a different type of clientele.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so that's really good. But point is that we're super excited. We're really helpful, because ultimately, yes, we want you to buy our product, but we ultimately want you to enjoy it, because there's a lot of companies say, well, as long as you bought it, I don't care what you do with it afterward. And we do. We want you to enjoy it. So we're here to help you and assist anytime. Call us. And when you purchase your decoders through companies like Spring Creek or whatever, they usually give you good prices. And then we're here to be the support. So basically, go to your store, buy your product, put it in, call us if you need any help.
Awesome stuff. And, I'm not the gatekeeper at all to the podcast community, but welcome on behalf of only me and myself. And I think it's fantastic. Listen, it's not a competition. Mm-hmm. Instead, it's another avenue to get more information. We do a show once a week. You're doing a show, everybody, and that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's great that folks have, they get done with our show, they get done with yours, they come over to ours. It's a perfect mix of different things and ways to learn. And if you're sitting around the workbench soldering a SoundTraxx decoder into a locomotive, something to turn on and listen to while you're doing it. So awesome stuff. Always great to have new ways to get knowledge out to the people. So congratulations on that.
So thank you.
So let's talk about some products from SoundTraxx. Sure. Things that are exciting there. Let's hear about that.
A question for you. I had a guy, and we talked about this before, and I don't know that I've ever got it worked in the magazine yet. It's one of your newer products. I had a guy yesterday tell me it's his favorite thing now. He pulls the decoders out to change everything to your Blue Nami. Mm-hmm. Love Blue Nami. Have you used it? I said, I'm familiar with it. I know of it. No,
Oh, we're gonna have to fix
I'm
that.
Taking that out of so I pull stuff out of everything now to make them really.
Mhm.
And he said, "Oh, that's my favorite thing." I said, "Yeah, I've talked to George about that before, but when it came out, I think I ran a news thing, but no, I've never reviewed it." "Oh, you've got to try it. It's like it's the greatest." And explain it, because it's not just when you think of like the economies and the tsunami units. When we say Blue Nami, it is still DCC sound decoder, but it's got an extra perk.
Correct.
Tell me what this is.
So the word Blue Nami, everybody says that's kind of a strange word. Well, like economy is, again, it's another strange word, but economy stands for economy tsunami. Because Tsunami is the flagship line, and they're all kind of related, because the economy is the budget version of the Tsunami, Tsunami 2, and it has, pun intended, not all of the bells and whistles.
But again, it's a price point.
But it's a price point.
You'll find that a lot of the factory equipped things will have that, so it gets you in the door. You've got the good SoundTraxx electronics in there, so you get to see it. Yeah,
right. So then we have Tsunami 2, which is our flagship, top of the line, award-winning decoder that we've used for a few years now, and we partnered with a company called Blue Rail Trains, and Blue Rail Trains had a Bluetooth app to talk to some little motor decoder that would run around and turn on the lights, and we decided, hey, that's really cool. Can we make it work with our stuff? And we worked through a few years and had some discussions back and forth. So the term Blue Nami is a merge of the term Bluetooth and Tsunami. So it's a Bluetooth Tsunami 2, and so as you said, this is the big thing a lot of people forget. It's still a DCC decoder. So, but what the advantage of the Bluetooth allows you to do is you can use the free app that you can download onto your smart device, because pretty much everybody anymore seems to have one of these things in their pocket. And so the Blue Nami allows you to download the free app. You connect to it via the Bluetooth through the app. And then you have basically the whole world in front of you, because not only now do you have the ability to run the locomotive using the Bluetooth, where you can turn on all your functions, bells, everything, and everything's labeled.
Right. And I did that when Blue Rail first came out. I remember playing with that, and it was very basic, but it had horn lights. You could do everything from your smartphone. But now this guy yesterday was something you can even do programming and not, he goes, and not having to mess with those CVs. I'm like, oh, I hear you. That's a good idea.
Yes. And so when I give presentations, usually my first question is, okay, just to kind of feel the room, how many of you guys use DCC? Everybody raise their hand, right? How many of you guys love setting CVs?
Yeah.
Perfect. Everybody is a Blue Nami customer now. Because what the Blue Nami, you mentioned programming, I was going to get to that, but the programming allows you to do all of your sound selections, adjustments, volume, momentum, everything you need without a CV.
Wow.
You don't care about CVs anymore. So, like, for example, and I don't know how often you use our product, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, but if I want to change the air horn or the whistle, what CV number? And then
I always know the one that flips the direction, because a lot of this stuff I'm playing with it for review, so I get to see it for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough.
So unless I'm putting something together, but what is the?
It's CV number 120.
Okay.
And then let's say I'm using a diesel and I want to pick the RS3L. What's the value? And see, this is kind of the thing. So now you have to go back to the manuals. You have to find the CV number and then find the value to correspond with that particular air horn.
Right.
But with Blue Nami, you go to settings, which is a little gear on the bottom of the homepage. You go to sound settings, main sounds, because main sound is a whistle or air horn. And then you click on it, and then there's a menu, and it's a list. And you scroll through,
pick from
and you find the RS3L air horn, and you click it, and it plays it for you so that it will.
Does it write it to that decoder?
It writes it to the decoder.
Oh,
so it does all the CDs behind these menus, checkboxes, and everything else. And so when you want to adjust the volume, you just hit master volume and you move the slider bar up and down, and it'll change the volume. Nice. And it's doing it live. So whether you want to read a CV or read a setting or program it, you can do it right there on the main line. But the advantage is, because the Bluetooth communication is what's actually talking to the decoder, all that communication's off the rails.
Wow.
So it has no care whether you're running DCC or you're running another Blue Nami or whatever the case is, because all my communications are with my locomotive or locomotives.
Because when you said main line, so to put in a number, if I've got other stuff out there, I'm not going to suddenly nuke its programming. Nope. That it is individual. Nice.
No, you're talking to it only. And so once I pair to it now, in DCC because it is a DCC decoder. If I put it on a DCC system, and as long as I keep my app closed and in my pocket, I can run it on my DCC system all the time. Yeah. And so it's what I tell people. I say, get one and try it out, because you can start with 1 or 2 Blue NAMI, run those in a train. But then if you want to run it, like say for argument's sake, you pick up this new, I don't know, SD40-2, you plug it in and you're like, yeah, but I want to run it with those SD40s that are Tsunami 2s. Great. Put on the track. You've given it an address through the app, because I can change the address all day in the app. I even can change the nickname. So I can make it, Georgia's Mopac SD40-2 or whatever the case is. But if you use it in DCC, you just put on there, select the address, and you run it on your DCC system, just like a normal Tsunami 2, and you don't know the difference. But all your settings are done through the free app that you can download to your smart device.
And is the app on your website? How do you get, if somebody wanted to start reading up on this or look at more, where's the best place to start?
So start at SoundTraxx.com under Blue NAMI. There's a lot of information, some brief descriptions of some of the stuff. There's links to the various Play stores. So whether it's Google Play or Apple App Store, whatever it's called, you can go to those and just type in Blue NAMI. You can see the link, download it, or you can link to that off our website. And then as far as like finding out information, you can go to our website, read up on it, see the decoder formats. But you can also go to youtube.com, and YouTube, we have our own YouTube channel, SoundTraxx DCC, and we've been posting videos about our products, whether it's EcoNAMI, Tsunami 2, Blue NAMI, since about 2016. So it's been almost 9 years, and every week a video goes up.
Oh, nice.
And so there's a lot of information and
backlog of help.
Correct. Yeah. And so what we do is we take, for example, a particular feature. One of the things of the Tsunami 2 and Blue NAMI is what's called dynamic digital exhaust. And dynamic digital exhaust will basically read the load on the motor and adjust the sound of the exhaust, whether it's prime mover or steam chuff, according to what it's doing. So if you're running on flat level track, let's say your diesel or let's say steam. Your steam engine might be chuffing at a nominal pace kind of to maintain speed, because the engineer is constantly adjusting the throttle, changing the Johnson bar to adjust the timing based on his feel. But what will happen is now when he encounters a grade, he's got to throttle up, throw the Johnson bar down, he's got to add more chuff or more steam into it, which of course creates a louder bark of the chuff. And so if you're running on flat track and then you encounter a grade, the decoder senses that and will automatically deepen the chuff and make it louder to simulate the work the engineer's doing in the cab. Same thing with the diesel engine, is he'll throttle up the notching to get up that hill. And to do that, there's a calibration process. You have to move the locomotive, so you got to do it on the main line. You set a couple of CVs while it's running, and then you go back and you set the sensitivity. Well, the Blue NAMI app has a button that says calibrate DDE. You push the button, it goes through the whole process for you. You don't have to do anything except sit and watch it, give it some flat level track, and then it'll do auto calibration for you.
Oh, nice. Wow.
So it's nice and easy, but it really makes it enjoyable, because again, you don't have to do the CVs, because and especially when it comes to things like function mapping, people will say, because I like our function mapping, we have what's called flex map function mapping, where we basically flipped it around, and so the CV number is assigned to the effect. The value of the CV corresponds to the button that controls it. But we're talking about indexed CVs, and so when people see 1.257, for example, now they really are intimidated by it. So a lot of people are scared to do this stuff. And that's what Blue NAMI really does, is it takes all that and hides it behind a nice, clean graphic user interface that's easy to understand. You saw at the show, I've got Eric, I can't think of his last name now, but he's got next to me this big giant 7.5-inch scale Jeep 60.
Oh, yeah.
And he was running it with an EcoNAMI. But he was telling me, I want to adjust this sound. I'm like, well, you have to have a DCC system to do it, and you're limited on your sounds. And so I was telling him about the Blue NAMI. I said, yeah, you just connect to the app. And then once you connect to the app, it ignores the track. But then to go back to his throttle control, you just cycle power and just don't reconnect to the app. And now it'll run on his controls, which are some form of a DCC control, because he's got a button for horn, bell, whatever. And I said, you should look at Blue NAMI, because now you can make all the adjustments. You don't need to go find a DCC system, because what he has in his locomotive is a very simple DCC command protocol that's sending commands to the decoder to make the sounds. And so anyway, he goes over there last night, and he came to the store here at Spring Creek and bought a Blue NAMI, plugged it in, and he was like, I'm going to wait till he gets there and I'll ask him some questions. And by the time I got there, he's already figured it out. He's already made all the adjustments and changes. He says, I was going to wait for you, but I started playing with it. And this is so much easier than I ever thought it would be.
Wow, that's cool.
And he's in love with it. Now he's talking to all his other 7.5-inch scale buddies saying, you guys need to look at this, because it really does. And it frees it up. And so, and one of our mutual friends came over to my house and we were running trains, because I've converted my whole home layout to Blue Nami now. And I have an NCE system at home. I even plugged in one of those SoundTraxx Wi-Fi modules into the throttle bus. So if people come over, they can run with engine driver or Wii throttle, whatever it is. And then I have every locomotive is equipped with Blue Nami. So I'm like, you can control the trains however you want, whatever you're comfortable with.
Whatever you're used to.
Anyway, our mutual friend came over, and we've mentioned him tonight. I'm not going to throw his name out there just yet, but we've mentioned him. And he comes over to my house and he's playing with. He goes, George, this is what DCC promised us. Yeah, because the problem is like when you're looking at CVs, there's a lot of complexity and intimidation. Because if we're not software engineers, I mean, I'm a dumb sales guy. Okay. I am not an engineer. I don't understand any of this stuff, but I figured out and learned the DCC and the CVs and all that. But when it comes to the Blue Nami, man, it's so much easier and faster, and I don't have to do it. And there's even an option in our Blue Nami app, copy to loco. So let's say I get 3 SD40-2s and I get one set up the way I want. I can copy all the CVs from that to that in a matter of seconds.
Oh, wow.
And then I can have 3 of them in like 5 to 10 minutes that are working exactly the same, each with their own address.
That's very cool.
Now I'm running trains instead of having to spend hours in front of a computer downloading.
And that's the thing, like when I've called you, it's like, I'm just trying to do this. And it's like, I would like to just enjoy this. What am I not doing?
Exactly. Well, it's certainly revolutionizing the hobby. And you just mentioned 7.5. We're going to go from 7.5 on the complete opposite direction with a question here in the chat from our good friend N-Scale Train Boy. He says, here's a question for George. Any chance we'd ever get a Blue Nami in N-Scale? Been putting Blue Namis in Club Locos, so it's easy for kids to control the trains, but it would be interesting to have one in N. What say you, George?
I say make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter at SoundTraxx.com.
There you go.
Okay. Little open-ended, but
very open-ended,
but very promising.
So
excellent.
I'm not making any announcements, but make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter.
And thank you to everybody else who's here in the chat and joining us. And that made him excited. He said, "Oh boy!" And so make sure you sign up there, Dennis, and get yourself subscribed to the SoundTraxx newsletter. Also want to say hello to all the other folks that are joining us again. Matthew Goodchild, Robert, good to see you as well. And Bruce Castle has dropped back in. Galen's been hanging out with us all weekend long. So thank you to you. And Floyd Robbins checking in, saying afternoon to Ray, Tony, and George. Good to see you. And thank you to Mr. Ted DiIorio. He's also stopping by to say hello and spending a part of their holiday weekend with us as we're spending our holiday weekend out here in Deshler, Nebraska for the Spring Creek Model Trains 25th anniversary. Now, you talked about 17 years with SoundTraxx. They've been doing it for 25 years. You're getting some tenure under you for sure.
But you know, it doesn't feel like it. Like I've done Model Railroad News for 14 years. And I have to stop and think, really, 14 years? Like, and I can go pick it. There's all the issues. It's like, wow, really? Huh. Doesn't seem like it.
And SoundTraxx is 35 actually this year.
Wow.
So we've been doing a lot of specials this year on our website, things that are unique to celebrate our 35th anniversary. Like last month, we did a t-shirt. Early in the year, we did, I'm trying to remember. We did a mystery box. That mystery box sold out in 2 days.
Oh, wow. Those are always really popular.
Yeah, they are very
loves
popular.
That.
But I will say this, if you guys are interested, go to SoundTraxx.com and you can get a mini George. 3D printed.
Yes.
You can get one of that for your layout. If you really are a glutton for punishment, you want to see this fat guy on the layout, you can certainly buy a SoundTraxx Mini George.
But now, can he help me with programming and questions I have? Have you got that worked out yet?
Yes. You can put the speaker on your phone next to the figure and call SoundTraxx.com or call us, and that'll seem like George is
a little sound-equipped George. Yes. One question now before I let you go, because I know you're a big Mopac fan like I am.
Yeah.
You know, Kevin Udaly, the president of White River, does the Eagle magazine for the Society. And you got Tom Austin now.
Yes.
It's a controversial topic. You know, I'm a fan. I love him. That last round of stuff from Athearn, I think, they're SD90 Mac H's. Did you see there's Jinx Blue Mopacs? I'm excited.
Yep.
What about yay, nay?
So
like them, love them, not sure.
I do. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I do like it. Here's my thoughts. I'll probably get one.
There you go.
And so, but I model 1978. And so even Jeep 50s, any of the B30s or any of that more modern Mopac stuff, I even look at the road numbers. And so like if an SD40 is in the 3200 series, I don't buy it.
It's too late. Yeah.
Because that would have been delivered after. GP38, for example, in the 2300s would be too late because in the era that I'm modeling 1978, they hadn't moved the GEs from the 2200 series to the 45 and 4600 series yet.
Yeah.
And so I look at that. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, I'll probably buy one because they're cool.
Yes.
Cool is the guardrail buster.
Exactly.
It is. Yeah. Like, you said, we talk about Matt Fricks and he's kind of coined that guardrail idea. And, but yeah, when you have your guardrails up, I'm going to do this era and it doesn't fit my era. I don't have to buy it. But this is wicked cool, and we're going to jump over the guardrail. And we're going to buy it anyway.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's how. And then, George, my interest would be like 60s, 70s. Like when they did those what if SP rear Grand Jeep 15s. Yeah, because those would work. Those could have been 1970s. But yeah, that Mopac 90 too new for me. That I'd have to even stop and think about when were those built and what is that exactly? But when I saw the Mopac, it's like, I'm gonna have to have one.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get one anyway. Yeah. But you mentioned the 15s. The Jeep 15 is my favorite locomotive.
It's so cool.
And it's very much Mopac. They had 190 of them.
Oh yeah, without Mopac, it almost wouldn't be.
Right. I mean, because like the next closest was Conrail with 100, and then everybody else had less than 20.
Right.
But it was a rebuild program of trade-in stuff, and so they could basically sell a new locomotive without the cost of a new locomotive. And so that's why the mob jumped on it, because they always wanted to keep their road power fresh.
Yeah.
And so the 15s are very quintessential Mopac. I remember years sitting at Tower 55 in Fort Worth, watching the Mopac run a couple of Jeep 15s across the diamond, waiting for their train to show up. So everybody else had to wait for it. Oh no, we're doing important business. And then suddenly they would stop and you'd be like, oh, finally something will come in. And then here comes the Mopac train coming through. Then the Santa Fe, then the BN, and then all the other stuff would come through. And it's like, oh yeah, I know what you guys were doing.
Awesome. So, hey, before we let you go, in the spirit of helping people, we got one more question here in the chat. And this comes from our good friend Ted Diorio. He says, maybe I missed it, but do you need a DCC system, or can you just have basic 12 to 15 volts to the track via power supply with everything controlled through a Blue Nami?
Yes, you do not need a DCC system, because the app and the app and your phone basically takes the place of DCC. So all you got to do is power the decoder up, and so it will power up. The processor wakes up and starts running. And in this case, you want to make sure analog mode is disabled, because otherwise it sees that 12 to 14 volts as a command and starts running down the track until you grab the app. But so it'll sit there not doing anything, but it's powered up, connect to the app, and you run, because this opens the door for battery power. It opens the door for DC guys. So you guys that have held out on DCC for so long, guess what? You just hit the jackpot, because now you don't have to spend the money for the DCC system. You don't even have to change your layout. Just turn the voltage up on your layout, connect to the app, and you're running DCC-like trains through the app. And one thing I didn't mention is that when most people talk about Bluetooth, they think of their headphones, and they think they've got about a 30-foot range or something like that. But this is using a different protocol called Bluetooth Low Energy. And BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, is the same protocol people have with a smartwatch. If any of you guys have one of those smartwatches. And so it's mostly for data transfer, but it has a range of we advertise up to 100 feet, but I have a video on our YouTube channel where I went 147 foot.
Wow.
And to be fair, that was estimated. I used my my giant clodhoppers here on the bottom of my legs, and I measured that a parking space was approximately 9 of my feet. So I said, okay, that's about 9 feet. And so I went, what was that? Then the 145 would have been something like 18 parking spots or something like that. I forget exactly what it was.
We're going to let you do the math, but go ahead.
But anyway, I would get there, and then I was like, okay, and I still have control. I took an extra step, and boop, it lost. Went right back over, boop, connected, and then I had control again.
Wow.
So you've got a pretty good range on it. And then the other thing with the Bluetooth Low Energy is that it doesn't interfere with any other typical radio transmission. So if you're at a club or a layout or a show that you're running NCE or Digitrax wireless, it's not interfering with it, because if for any reason there's interference on a particular channel, the Bluetooth low energy has 37 independent channels that'll transmit the data. So it starts going on one and immediately jumps to another, and everything's, because it's paired, everything talks together. And that way you can be in a room with, 30 people all have smartwatches, and their things are ding, 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 whatever the case is throughout the whole afternoon, because they're all using the same channels. But if it's not paired, then it's not for that communication.
Amazing.
So it really is a really reliable way to do it. And it's fun and it's easy and so forth. And so go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com, search SoundTraxx Blue Nami, and you'll see a bunch of our videos. And then before we go, I'm going to throw a little shameless plug here. If anybody wants to see my home layout, either be operations or just a layout tour of my stuff, my personal YouTube channel is Goalie George.
Goalie George.
Just
Goalie
one
George.
word, GoalieGeorge. And you'll see my layout. And I don't post regularly, so it's not a monetized channel. I just put it out there for fun to share people, and you'll see how I operate my layout and how I use the decoders to the fullest extent. So
awesome.
What hockey team do you like then?
So I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I got to root for my little D Stars.
Oh, okay.
I have been a Stars fan pretty much since they came out.
Okay.
Now I'm in Colorado, and I have to deal with all the Avs fans that want to sit there and give me a hard time. But this year I had the fun of being able to wear my little Dallas Stars shirt after they won the first round of the playoffs. I went, oh, I'm sorry, what happened to your team?
Well, good stuff. And from one goalie to another, it's great to have you here, George, and hear all this stuff. Tony, we are living in the golden era of model railroading.
It's fantastic. And as George said, I think that's the biggest push for Blue Nami is it delivers what DCC promised. Because again, I get those emails. Well, I'm frustrated. I got into this, and man, it just seems so complicated. And that, I think, brings it into, I can do this. Yeah.
Excellent.
And great company. I love SoundTraxx stuff.
Absolutely. And of course, if you're looking for SoundTraxx stuff, springcreekmodeltrains.com. Check them out. They're here all weekend, filling them shelves that we keep talking about over here on the side with the orders ready to go out.
I want to add one more last little thing.
Go for it.
We're made in America.
There you go.
We manufacture our decoders in Durango, Colorado. If any of you guys ever make it down, you're welcome to contact us for a tour.
You got like a clean room that you build all that stuff in, and wow.
That'd be something definitely to see, and it'd be awesome stuff. American-made SoundTraxx. Check them out, SoundTraxx.com. Again, if you're looking to order, SpringCreekModelTrains.com. Place your orders this weekend. Check out all their deals on SpringCreekModelTrains.com. We'll be back in not too long, about 20 minutes or so with our next, I believe. So until then, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by, and come see us again very shortly. Take care.
Thank you.